Hi, I'm Jason Buck. I'm a lifelong native of Palos Verdes, and I've been a realtor here for over 26 years. My office is in Malaga Cove, and I'm right above the plaza here at the estate properties office. I like to do a market recap. I kind of go over what's come on the market, what looked good, what went into escrow, how fast, and what sold, and what were some of the hot properties. What are the properties that us as agents were like, oh, that was a good deal, and some of the other things going on in the marketplace. So I haven't done this now for 3 weeks, so this is covering from the end of October to yesterday, which was November 20th. So looking forward, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And one other really big piece of news, it appears that NAR has changed the amount of days a listing can be off market before it gets reenacted as 0 days on market. So what was 90 days has now been shortened to 30 days. It's kind of a big point as we enter this time period in the marketplace. Historically speaking, the real estate market slows down around Thanksgiving. A lot of people pull their homes off the market during Christmas because they don't want people seeing their packages or their decorations or the parties. There's just a lot of other stuff going on. And we really don't see the market come back till typically after Super Bowl. That's always been like the day that people would mark as when the market comes back. But we'll see how it goes this year. And now, being that it's only 30 days, that gives a really interesting time period of who's going to pull their home off if they do, to reset that clock to 0, because days on market definitely has a strong presence. If the buyer sees over 100 days on market, they're like, oh, something's wrong. When sometimes it's just the way the market's going, as in lately. It's been going somewhat down. Properties are still selling, but that's something to be aware of. Okay, let's dive in. And if you have any questions or want any other further research or information, please call me. I'm happy, or write me an email. I'm happy to respond. If there's ways or information that you want to know about, leave a comment, because I'd be happy to adjust this presentation to fit your needs. That's my goal. So if I look back at the week from October 30th to November 6th, I like to count how many listings actually came on the market, went into escrow, or sold just for that week. 29 listings changed hands. Previous weeks, 40 listings, 43, 39, going back into September, 58, 67, 39, and going further back, around the same, well, back in early September, we had 70 total listings changing hands. So it was a lot busier back then. This last, or at the beginning of the month here of November, 29, so it's kind of a low number. Of the active new homes that came on the market, there was 13. That's really low. We usually see something around 20 to 30, really. And 7 of those were price reductions. One big home came out on the market, big meaning over 10 mil, and this one was 609 Paseo Del Mar, listed for 10.5. We've seen a lot of those homes on that little stretch, 609, 605, 601, sold earlier this year. So there's a little bit of activity in that little stretch of Paseo Del Mar. This one being the last home before Bluff Cove, gets a lot of street traffic, but it is a beautiful big home. I have a video of it down below, and it tracked really, really well. People love looking at those big homes, and that one's not a bad deal. It's interesting. There's some beautiful craftsmanship there, and it's right on the cliff and gorgeous. Another note. Recently, there was talk about whether or not there was a slide on Marguerite and whether that was attached to the landslide. I've talked about this several times. This is Storm, my dog. She's in the office with me today, and she likes to be near me. So anyway, sorry about that distraction. The landslide. The slide that happened on Marguerite, in my opinion, was overwatering. When you look at the photos of that dirt, you can see that the dirt is brown, meaning that it's wet. I feel they overwatered their yard, and that's why it sloughed. It has nothing to do with the Portuguese Bend landslide, which has bentonite, which is causing that land to move. So it's a very important to understand that. The media has not done a great job of differentiating between those two areas. And therefore, a lot of people that come to Palos Verdes are always asking, is this property moving, or is there danger in movement? And the slide is a very specific area with the bentonite, which is causing it. And that is only in that Portuguese Bend area. In fact, Recent reports have said that Seaview and Lower Portuguese Bend, the beach club, are not moving. There's still some movement over towards where Wayfarers Chapel was, but nothing in those other areas recently, which is really, really good news. Although it's been raining now, so we'll see if that has an effect on that area. Anyway, sorry for that segue. So yeah, 13 new active homes in that first week of November. We saw 7 homes go into escrow, and we had 8 homes sold. I don't have a whole lot of notes here because that was not a lot of listings in that time, but out of the ones that sold, 4133 Rosser Court sold over asking, 100 grand over the asking price in 6 days. This is over by Chadwick, and there's been some sales over in that neighborhood recently that are doing really, really well. Also Dover Ridge, which is in area 174. Those are the numbers that we use as realtors. That one sold at asking price in 9 days. And that was a pretty high dollar per square foot at $930. So what I've noticed as I look at the listings and watch the market, that a lot of buyers are really sticking to that dollar per square foot, and they want it down. Now, when we were in the COVID times, it was pretty common that most listings were at $1,000 a foot as a base minimum. That's gone. And if it needs work, it's probably in the 7s, under 8. If it's nice, a lot of stuff in the Rancho area is still in the 8s. It's hard to see stuff in Palos Verdes Estates go much under that, unless it really needs a lot of work. But a clean home in the Estates, I still feel is the 900s to 1,000. And then, of course, there are other homes that are selling for more than that. But typically, they're going to bring something to the table, whether it be a view or outstanding construction or just a desirable street. And we're still seeing homes sell 11, 12, even 1,300 a foot. But the bigger numbers, it's really come down quite a bit, and that's something to just kind of watch as the market fluctuates. So Dover Ridge selling at $930 a foot was a higher mark for that particular neighborhood recently in the last couple months. All right, moving on to the next week. This would be from November 6th to November 13th. There were 34 listings that changed or came on or off. Of the active homes, 15 and 7 reductions, so it's a little better than the last week. There was a new one that came out on Via Barica. It looks pretty good. This home, I wouldn't say is a fixer. It could be updated. It's mostly original, but good views, good yard, and definitely a way for you to make your personalization. I think these homes are actually tracking pretty well. In my observation, it feels like buyers really are conscious of price and property tax, and they would rather get a fixer that they can then fix up themselves. But some of these I've noticed need a lot of work, and sometimes going through that permit process and doing all that work, you may get reassessed. And so I sometimes wonder if everybody's aware of that when they're pricing out and buying based on the fact that they think the property tax would be less. Sometimes when you go through that whole process, at the end, the house gets reassessed and to a new value higher than what you paid for it because of the upgrades you've done. So I haven't done a full study on that. It's something to be aware of and to think about. And definitely, if there's a home that you're looking at, let's talk about it together and really kind of figure it out. I'm happy to do that. So the Barica, I think, is a pretty easy cosmetic fixer. And by cosmetic, a lot of that stuff's over-the-counter permits, so you don't have to get into a big thing with the city with other larger permits and compatibility issues with the neighbors and all that kind of stuff. Just go in and do your kitchen. If you keep it like as and not move walls, it's a lot easier. If you move walls, then you're triggering the next level of permits and all that process. All right, 15 actives. 13 went into escrow, of which 1732 PV Drive West went into escrow in 4 days. That's pretty incredible that a home on the drive sold that fast. It was priced right and it looked really cute, so good job. 6 homes sold. Of those, one that I really liked, 128 Rocky Point Road. And this is on the interior. It didn't have a view. It was a nice home. They got 3.8 million. He really held out. He had it listed for 235 days because he wanted that number. And it ended up being $1,266 a foot. Now, that's lower Lanada Bay, no view, and that's a big dollar per foot for that at $1,266. So But he held out. He had a nice house. He wanted to wait for his price, and he got it. So good job. This house was absolutely gorgeous. One Crestway. Sold for 3.698. Actually, no, excuse me. Listed at 3.698. Sold over at 3.75 in 6 days. That was a gorgeous house. Very, very nice. Top of the hill off Ocean Air. Pool, yard. Very well done. That was a good buy. I like that sale. It was a 5-bedroom with 4,100 feet. So even then at 3.75, you know it's under 1,000 foot. So it's interesting to see where those prices are for those beautiful homes. Those are the top ones out of that week. So I go into just now last week. From November 13 to November 20th, there were 47 listings on and off in that time period, of which 26 active. So we've already doubled from the beginning of November to now. Why? Interest rates. I've noticed I do open house almost every week. I have a listing at 1232 via Cornell. It's priced at 3.3. It's every bit of worth that. It's a very beautiful home, 5 bedrooms, updated kitchen, updated primary bath. We're holding out for a number because we don't want to settle. It's a nice house, and it's interesting to see the market fluctuate here. I've noticed open houses this last week have been a lot busier than 2 and 3 weeks ago. And interest rates might be part of it. Perhaps now it's more of buyer confidence. Maybe people are feeling better about the economy. Maybe it was part of the government shutdown and the fact that it's back open again. Buyers were out, but they're out right now. And this is going to be really, really interesting now that we've picked up again and we're seeing more actives and more properties coming on the market, whether or not we have a pretty good season here before the new year and into next year. Now, the economic forecast is that if interest rates get down below 6.5 or between 6 and 6.5, the market will be more active and there'll be a lot more listings coming on. If that happens, is that helpful or does it hurt a buyer? Yes, it gives them more options, but if there's more buyers out and there's more listings, is it going to become too saturated? Or is it going to be gangbusters and prices go back to multiple offers and going over because there's buyers that are interested? Those things I can't answer yet, but I am watching this to try and figure out where are we going to go over the next couple weeks and into next year. And right now it actually looks pretty good to get something out and see how the market responds, especially since they changed the law, dropping it down to 30 days. So you could try for the next 3 weeks and see if you get your home sold, and then still pull it off right before Christmas and come back after New Year and not really lose a beat. So that's an interesting perspective and one that I'm happy to engage in. So 26 new listings in the last week. 10 of those were price reductions. So a real true honest 16 new listings. That's encouraging. There's one that I really liked, saw today, 6330 Sates or Satis or something like that. It's French, I guess, Satis. I don't know how to say it, but that's a nice property, 5 bedrooms, single level. Another one was 27914 San Nicolas. This is another great area, top of the hill, priced at 1.49. That's going to go. I mean, that's value there. So, people, it's really so important to price correctly. One, so that I feel that agents should actually be docked some of their commission for overpricing or overpricing to get a listing. They're not doing anyone a favor. Price it right, get the market moving, get it sold, and we can discuss more in detail later. Okay, so 12 homes went into escrow. Another one on Rousseau, 4032, sold in 6 days. That's pretty cool. And that's in that Chadwick area. And then another one that I really liked, 4548 Marloma. It took 10 days to sell, but this was a clean house. Really nice job. And I think it was a beautiful home that I think it should have sold that way. It did. And in that last week, we had 9 that actually sold. 28424 sold in 1 day. And 28424 Golden Meadow. Sometimes I'm ahead of myself, so sorry about that. 1 day. So there is activity, and there are some homes that are still sitting, but there are things that are moving, and it's exciting to see new listings coming up and where this market's going to go. So if you have some questions or would like to discuss, I'm ready to do that. Thanks for watching the video. I did put down below lists of those each week of the homes that are on and off, so you can do a little more checking. And there are videos that I shoot all the time of some of these properties as well that you can check out. And reach out if you have some questions or would like to discuss. I'll be around through the holidays, and it's always beautiful here during this time. Once we get the rain and then it gets clear and it's just gorgeous, it's a nice reason to live in Palos Verdes. So thanks for watching, and make it a great day.